We're on to example C. So again, first thing we're going to look at is to see if we can distribute. We can because we've got our 7, 2 here, and 7 here, which is going to distribute to both places, and our 3, which can distribute to both. So we're going to have 3x minus 7 times 2x, which is going to make 14x. Then we've got plus 7 times negative. It's going to be negative 7. We've got this. And negative 13. So negative 7 times negative 13 is going to be positive 91. Because remember, negative times a negative equals a positive. So we've got to distribute on that side. Now we're going to distribute on the other side. So we've got 3 times negative 2x, which is going to give us negative 6x. Then 3 times 9, which is going to give us positive 27. So now that we've distributed, we're going to combine like terms. This is the first time we're going to see the like terms getting combined, because on this side we have 2 variables. So this part we have negative 14 and a positive 3. So that's going to give us negative 11x when we combine these like terms. So we've got negative 11x plus 91 equals negative 6x plus 27. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move all the variables to one side. So I'm going to do plus 6x. Remember, when you have a negative, you're going to do the opposite, which is to add on both sides. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. That's going to give me negative 5x plus 91 equals 27. So we have all the variables on one side. We're now going to make all of the integers on one side. So what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. We have a positive 91 on this side, so you're going to subtract 91 on both sides and get negative 5, because remember these cancel. Negative 5x equals negative 64. So this is where we're going to find our variable. We're going to find that missing variable for here. So this is why y'all have y'all's calculators. Y'all are going to do negative 5x equals negative 64. So remember, our negative 5 is multiplied by the x right now. So that means you're going to have to divide the negative 5 on both sides to get our x, because those cancel, equals. So since we have a double negative, it's going to be 64 over 5. If y'all want to put the decimal, you can, but this will work just fine for an answer. So again, you're going to check in the calculator. This time I'm going to let y'all check in the calculator, okay? So instead of going through and plugging it all back in, you can actually plug it in into your calculator. So we got our x. We got our x equals 64. Over 5. So then you're going to plug it into your calculator exactly as you see it. So you'll have 3 over 64 over 5 minus 7 parentheses 2 parentheses 64 over 5 close parentheses minus 13 close parentheses equals, and you'll find the answer. Then you'll do 3 open parentheses minus 2 open parentheses 64 minus 5 divided by 5 close parentheses plus 9 close parentheses equal, and your 2 should equal out. That's how you're going to check it on the calculator. Okay, now we're going to move on to example D. So this one, we have a fraction in our equation. So the first thing that we have to do is eliminate the fraction. So we're going to multiply each side of the equation by the least common multiple. Our least common multiple in this case is going to be 13. So we have x minus 6 divided by 13 equals negative 2. So we're going to multiply each side by 13 to cancel out our fraction. So that's going to make this side of the equation, x minus 6, equals negative 26. From here, this one will be pretty easy. All you have to do is move you already have one variable on one side, so all you have to do is move the integers to the other side. So we have a negative 6 over here. To move it to the other side of the equation, we're going to do plus 6 on both sides, and you get x equals negative 20. And you can do the check in the calculator. Okay, we're going to move on to E. So for E, we notice that we have decimals, which means that we're going to have to multiply each side of the equation by a multiple of 10. So how we're going to do that is we're going to take the entire equation. 0.25x plus 0.4x equals 39. We're going to multiply this entire equation by 100. So that's going to give us 25x plus 40x equals 3,900. So now from there is where we're going to go through simplifying the problem. So we're going to isolate the variables, but first we have to combine like terms. So on the left side of the equation, we have two x variables. So we're going to put those together, add 25 and 40, and get 65x equals 3,900. Now we're going to solve for the missing variable. So again, 65 is multiplied times x right now. To get the opposite of multiplication, we have to divide. So it's going to be 65x divided by 65 on both sides, which means our 65's cancel here. You get x equals, if you use the calculator, you get x equals 60. And again, you'll check it in the calculator, and we'll move on from there. Our next equation, we have a fraction in there. So again, in our fractions, we're going to multiply each side by the least common multiple. So our fraction over here is negative 2. So the easiest way to do this is we're going to multiply both sides by negative 2. So by multiplying each side by negative 2, we've got, this will be a distributive right here. So you get negative 32 plus n, because your negative 2 divided by the negative 2, multiplied by the negative 2 on the bottom will cancel out. Then you get negative 16. So from here, we need to combine like terms. So on both sides, you're good on like terms, and now we're trying to get the variable isolated. So we have 16 on one side, negative 32 on one side. So if we want the n to be by itself, we need this negative 32 to move over here. So we're going to do, so we have a negative 32. What's the opposite of negative 32? Positive 32. So we're going to add 32 to both sides. Remember, what you do to one side, you do to the other. And you get n equals 16. Again, you'll check it on the calculator and you'll move on. All right, we're on to example G now. So as you notice in this one, we have multiple different denominators in our equation. So again, for our denominators, the only way that we can clear out fractions is to multiply each side of the equation by the least common multiple. So to start, we have to find the least common multiple for 2, 5, and 3. So for the 2, we're going to go all the multiples of 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 22, 24, etc. by evens. Then we have our 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And then we'll go by 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, and 30. So, just from looking at these, you're trying to find the least common multiple. So the first number that all of them have in common. So when we look here, we notice that the 3 has a 24 in common with the 2's, but not with the 5's. The first one I see is 30. So that's going to be your least common multiple. So now that we've found that our least common multiple is 30, we can now multiply each side of the equation by that least common multiple. So we're going to multiply the entire equation by 30. Doing that, we're going to end up with x over 2 times 30 plus x over 5 times 30 plus x over 3 times 30 and 31 times 30. So this is going to end up being 15x plus 6x plus 10x equals 930. Remember, y'all can use your calculators to get these quickly. So now what we're going to do is we're going to combine like terms. On the left side, we've got 3 like terms. They're all x variables. So we're going to add 15x plus 6x plus 10x and get 31x equals 930. So on this time, we don't have to move variables around. We just have to solve for x. So to solve for x, we're going to do the opposite of what's on the left side, which is 31 times x. So we're going to divide by 31 on both sides. And this one should be easy. Y'all shouldn't actually have to use a calculator because we did this above. We did 31 times 30. So if we know that we have 31 divided by our answer, we're going to have x equals 30. Again, you'll check it in the calculator and move on.